pertains to one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Carter? Here. Ms. King? Here. Mr. Redmond? Here. Ms. Ryan? Present. Mayor Mullins absent. First item we have is T&M Presentation on the PCR, private property removal.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Fran Mullen. I am a director with T&M Associates, the Borough Engineer's Office. I work with Rob Keaty and Dale Lubner. We're here to present as requested. Very brief, maybe about 5-10 minutes overview of what's referred to as the TPDR program. It's the personal property debris removal program that's funded by FEMA, which you may have heard about in different communities where there have been dozens of storm-damaged homes. FEMA will provide 90% reimbursement to the borough if the borough takes steps to go forward and work with only willing homeowners that own the building, own the property, that want to have the borough put out the bid demolition services, where the contractor works on behalf of the borough and works along with homeowners who have the need and interest to willingly apply and be approved to have a storm-damaged home demolished and cleared from the site and disposed of. The goal, the intent is to have the FEMA funding basically pay for the program. It pays for all the architectural engineering services. It pays for all the construction, demolition, and disposal of the building demolition materials. So with that, I wanted to introduce the folks that handle this work for us at T&M. I personally direct this service in different municipalities. With me are the folks that manage the work day to day and set the program up. That is namely Dan Matson, who is our project manager here with us tonight, and Dana Webb, who is part of the engineering staff that helps with all of the extensive documentation and permitting that is needed for a project like this. We'll take you through an outline of the process, describe it on a high level. We'll open it up to questions, and we'll answer any questions that either the council have or anybody in the audience. So the process is basically 5 distinct steps. The first step, or the first phase, is to make sure that FEMA approves everything we will plan and program. We do everything in strict compliance with FEMA's regulations. We check with them on a daily basis. We would expect somewhere around, and this is just a guesstimate, maybe 30, 40, 50 homes that would show interest in this program. If 150 homeowners wanted to be in the program and came forward and submitted an application, I believe we would accommodate them. But the process is basically get FEMA to approve the program, make sure everything we're going to do is certifiable and fully refundable. There's a public announcement that goes out. Every single homeowner that has storm damage to their home is eligible to apply. No one at the borough decides who gets approved for demolition. That is strictly a FEMA criteria determination. The criteria is you have to have suffered substantial damage. You have to own the property. You have to be willing. Mostly, you have to be willing to make the application, which requires things like right of entry, allowing us to come on the property, make the inspections. If we find that there's any old tile in the floor or on the roof tiling that has asbestos-containing material, or even the suspicion of asbestos-contained material, we would work with the homeowner to identify it, take it out of the house before we demolish the house, because there's very strict guidelines and rules with the EPA for air quality and disposal of anything that has lead-based paint or asbestos-containing material. So you have to be a very willing participant. We do all the work. We do all the paperwork with you and for you. It's all fill-in-the-blank type of form work. You have to be willing to have your mortgage or lien holders involved, okay? they have to sign off on the process, because ultimately there'll be a house that gets demolished and removed from the site down to the grade on the property. You know, that we're not able to pay for the driveway removal or the in-ground pool or the sidewalks, but everything down to like the lawn level is basically eligible for reimbursement. So the house and the first couple of portions of block walls that are basically representing your crawl space areas get demolished, loaded up in trucks, and carted off to the landfill.
Which of course.
Well, do you want to make two questions at the end, or?
If you would, and I'll give you
That
a
way
very
we
brief
can go
overview, and then
further.
we'll get into all the questions and answers. So there's a very meticulous process. It's a recipe that is very rigid, and it's a step-by-step. It's not my judgment. It's not my project manager. You can't skip steps or circumvent the process. FEMA, on the federal level, that's the EPA. The state level, it's the DEP, the Soil Erosion Office, the New Jersey Department of Health. It very much microscopically oversees this. There's probably 20 or 30 different inspectors that come through during the construction period. And we control the dust. We have air monitors, and like I said, we touch on the asbestos-containing material and lead-based tank. Once FEMA says we have the program right, we put the announcement out. We tell everybody it's open for applications. You submit those to us. We preview them, make sure they're complete. We then sit with FEMA. FEMA comes out and interviews the homeowner and goes to the house and looks at the property. We take pictures, we measure it all up, and then they ultimately feed back to me the list of eligible properties that we can then knock down and clear the site and dispose of. So, you know, maybe we get 100 applications and FEMA agrees that all 100 can come down. Or we could announce this and only get a dozen homeowners that are interested in taking advantage of this program. It's really a variable process, and it's based on the community's interest and the homeowner's interest in pursuing this. But we've done it elsewhere. We've done it very successfully. Most houses only take a day or two to come down, and the lot is cleared. I have Dan here. I'd like him to give you maybe 3 minutes of a step-by-step with the highlights on what the actual activity is involved, that's involved. And then we will talk about the closeout and the reimbursement process, and then I would suggest we open it to questions.
Okay, perfect.
Okay?
As Frank said, my name is Dan Matson. I'm with T&M Associates, and I've worked on a number of demolition programs in various municipalities up and down the Bayshore. In total, I've managed 65 house demolitions, which equated to almost 15,000 cubic yards of debris. The first, as Frank said, portion of this program is to identify potential properties and have them approved by FEMA. Once FEMA does approve the property, we then begin to collect all necessary documentation, things like substantial damage determinations from the construction department and floodplain manager, notices of condemnation, right of entry, allowing the borough and its agents onto the property, the property owner's insurance documentation, as well as tax records and things of that nature. Once we have all the documentation required by FEMA, we perform a number of inspections, public health and safety inspections, fire inspections. NJDEP requires a environmental and historical review of each property to ensure there are no unintended impacts to the environment or surrounding areas. We then work with utility companies. We make sure that it has been certified that all the gas lines, electricity, water lines, sewer lines have been cut and capped and disconnected from the houses. And we work with the DEP and EPA to ensure that all household hazardous waste in each site has been properly disposed. We then move into the technical specifications and bid process for this project. Procurement of a contractor for this is very similar to almost any other job. We put the project out to bid, and concurrently, while we're looking for a contractor, we're also bidding a debris monitoring firm, because the basis of this contract is the volume of demolition debris disposed disposed of by the contractor. FEMA requires that an independent third-party firm comes in and certifies the amount of debris that leaves the site each day and gets disposed of at the facilities. Once we have our contractor and our debris monitor in place, FEMA reviews all of the documents and we are able to award at the council meeting. We move into pre-construction meetings and ultimately demolishing houses. While we're on site demolishing houses, there are a number of safety precautions that must be followed. Everything from continuously running fire hoses on the site to control dust throughout the air, proper installation of dust and asbestos monitors throughout the site to monitor the overall air quality. And we ensure that each homeowner gets at least 48 hours notice of when their house will be demolished. Basically, this serves as a last call for any property that may be in the house. And once we have taken down the houses, they are all the debris is brought to disposal facilities, which is then certified by the debris monitoring firm, and we compile all documentation. Ultimately, we prepare a number of 3-ring binders, CDs, and thumb drives to be submitted to FEMA. And I can say that out of the 65 houses I managed demolition, all of them have been fully 90% reimbursed by FEMA.
Excellent. I would also add that you hear a lot about the certifications and the permits and the inspections and all the scrutiny that goes on. That is directed at our role, the borough, the consultants that run the program, and the contractors that are involved. Everybody has to be licensed, certified, etc. No one has any interest in any particular household's financial situation, bank mortgage, second mortgage, any of that. It's irrelevant to everybody involved. They simply have to make sure that they're not knocking down a house that you don't own, or that it's a rental property, or it's not qualified somehow, because then the borough will be left with the entire bill. Our primary job is to make sure the borough gets 90% of the money back at the end. So we have to follow the rules very, very specifically. But you hear a lot about the environmental precautions. We run into very little lead-based paint, and even the roof shingles and the floor tiles that are buried under the ceramic tiles that everybody has, put in renovations after renovations. Very little asbestos-containing material do we come across. And if somehow you apply and you're getting through the process and somehow there's a determination that there's something about your property or your house that disqualifies you from the program, there is no penalties, there's no further action, nobody gets reported to the DEP, or somebody comes out and now you have a bigger headache that you regret ever even thinking about submitting an application. It's never happened, there's nothing like that. There's no enforcement folks that come in after us. It's simply, there's federal money from FEMA available to the municipality, not to the individual house owner. The borough can put this out to public bid. They get price competition, so it's getting done with the cheapest way possible, but it follows all the rules, and it gives homeowners an opportunity to step back, give us the application documentation, and we do all the work. You end up with your lot cleared of the damaged house that was a big challenge, perhaps, for you to get renovated or raised up in the air or fixed. It doesn't deliver a new house for you, but it delivers your lot cleared of all the debris in a fully compliant way, so that you don't have to worry about contractors, demolition contractors, dumpsters, where the material goes, getting permits from the town. You're relieved of all of that because the town runs the program. So I would say that is the high-level presentation of what the program is and how we do it. You all have an outline, a copy of our outline. You have a couple of photographs, just kind of representing a few of the home types. They could be anywhere from 1, 2, 3, 4 bedroom, either ranch-style cottage, short town type houses, or they could be 2, 2.5 story, more modern homes. They just got beat up by the storm and they're eligible for demolition. So that's kind of the summary of our presentation.
Anyone take questions?
Sure, I'll take.
Or do we have any questions?
No.
No.
I
have questions.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the typical timeframe once you start the program to take down the other
Normally, it's something like, it takes just about 2 to 3 months for the first half of the applicants to come in and get pre-approved by us before we go to FEMA. And then it takes, maybe another month or 2 or 3 for the rest of the applicants to get all of their documents organized. So if you can picture, some households, some applicants, some homeowners will be very organized and have very records. We open it up to applications, and in a week, they're done. We have everything that we need from them, and they're moving through the system. Some folks aren't quite that organized. I probably fall into that category.
Do you have everything completed before you put it out to bid?
We do, but first step is we put out an announcement to the whole town that says, anybody that wants to apply, come on in with a copy of your survey and fill out a one-page application. And then we give you instructions and homework to do with pulling all your documents together. Yes?
Actually, several questions. Being 31 months out from Sandy and having just taken down the building, why did we wait so long? I mean, I'm presuming this is funded, you're saying it's funded by FEMA, so I had all of that cost myself, and, had I waited another 2 months, FEMA would have paid for it? I mean, that's my first problem, and I think that many other people have already done the demolition, and it's okay for people who haven't, but, kind of makes the rest of us feel like, well, we stupid. Secondly, does it apply to second homes?
No. It'll be
It
first
must be primary.
primary residence, and you have to be owner occupied.
Okay. Any other questions?
And the answer to your first question is, we're doing this as fast as we can get FEMA in line with
But
approving
you
the
do see
program.
my point,
I-
that
it's
it's close to
an
3
issue.
years
I
already,
completely
and,
understand.
everybody paid for this themselves, so you get a 90% FEMA.
I do understand.
So, some of you, like, you're supposed to wait. Maybe in 10 years they'll have grants to rebuild the house. You can all wait that long.
I understand. Yes, ma'am.
So what happens if the bank owns or forecloses on it? They don't count?
No, I think they can be eligible if the bank steps forward as an applicant, with or without the loan holder. We would have to take a look at that. It's a little bit of an exception.
So can the neighbor who lives next door, get you in touch with the bank?
Yes.
Okay.
And the borough would take that initiative as well. If we can work with the bank and they meet all the FEMA criteria, we will take down every house with the goal being to restore neighborhoods to the best and highest condition with either cleared lots or new houses under construction. That's really the ultimate goal. So yes, and it's only willing owners. So if, say someone moved out of state and kind of threw their hands up and now the house is left to flounder and the bank maybe takes it over, or they're just holding it. If we can inspire or give the owner an incentive to get this public health threat now and a dampening this dilapidated property cleared of the site, we'll do everything we can as long as it's being managed.
But the owners walked away 4 or 5 years ago. They don't really give a see what you do, because they've already done. And the people left and went through everything. And the people left next door are the ones with this.
Understood. I'm just trying to, I guess I'm trying to say, we have to exhaust every possibility to get to the homeowner, even if they've been neglectful and have abandoned the property for all intents and purposes. We have to show proof of trying to reach them if they still have rights to the property. If we don't have owner sign off, we can't
But
take.
they have rights if it's foreclosed.
Well, if it meets the definition of foreclosed and it's a legal step we can take, most towns do take it. We just have to, I'm just,
But
kind of, the borough, my office will investigate and talk to the banks and do everything we can to engage every house that meets the criteria.
Is incentive fine?
I'm sorry?
You said you'll do everything you can to give incentive to people, does it include fining them?
Yes, we will do some research legwork. We'll try to track them down and engage them and entice people to enter the program and come in and find out more about it and apply. And then they just kind of have to get out of the way.
Fining, like,
Oh,
persuading.
fining
fines.
with penalties.
Charging them money.
I would suggest this. Normally, we do see that we step up a very very rigorous enforcement program at the same time. So people are not allowed to just get a free pass and be negligent and let the property deteriorate. We normally do see a step up enforcement, but that's not part of the FEMA programming, it's just supplemental, and it usually runs alongside the FEMA demolition program. Yes?
Is this
Name,
FEMA,
please.
Patty Gabler, 25 Bay Street? Is this program available information-wise on our website for our members, our residents?
Not
And
yet.
how long has it been available?
It's not yet, it is not yet. If we go forward, that would be one of the first steps, that it gets posted on the website, and public announcements.
Yeah, that's huge.
And we will do I think, a good job of blasting the community with the alerts, so that we try to get everybody's attention, create a buzz, so that, through each neighborhood, word of mouth, everybody starts talking about what this opportunity is and what it could represent to you.
It seems long in coming. Excuse me, but I mean, it seems long coming.
It's a very,
Curious.
it's a burdensome, FEMA is a difficult agency to deal with. Once we get to this place, though, I can assure you that if the borough does move forward, it's a function of the homeowners and the application quality. If we have a bunch of people that come in with quality documentation and it's all organized and in good form, we can expedite things and move forward quickly. If we have to chase 50 people that are scattered all over the country and are not willing and not really diligent in doing the homework they need to do, then it kind of slows down. But we will persist to get as many homes demolished as we can. I mean, that's our goal. Yes.
It seems like you're talking two programs, one's lead and one's the demo. Are we talking two different programs?
No, it's one process. The lead-based paint is one small ingredient. There's a 19-point checklist, and one of those points is, did you go in the house and test for lead-based paint, yes or no? Did you find any, and what did you do to mitigate it properly in accordance with EPA and DEP rules?
Okay.
So it's just one step in the bigger program.
Okay, but as far as the town, didn't we get a grant just for lead and then?
Yeah,
We also
the lead
bonded for
program that
demo?
you're referring to is if a homeowner wants to remain in the house.
All right,
So
it's
that
not the demo.
project is different. That's
Okay.
for someone who may want to rebuild and is not sure, they may have evidence that there was lead-based paint. They have to be eligible, they can apply through that program.
Oh.
So that, you
It's
can't
separate.
apply for that and then have them take the house down.
Okay, I thought it was the same
Yeah,
other grant.
different program.
Do you know what the total cost was for this grant is, the lead hazard reduction grant? Or am I talking
No,
about?
that's
totally
it's
different?
PPR.
Okay, do you know what, like with FEMA, they're gonna do 90% reimbursement, so there's no cap on that? If you have 150 homes, they'll cover 150
That's
homes?
correct. As long as we stick to the rules and everything is eligible.
And you mentioned, owners have to have bank liens and agreements and stuff. Have you noticed with all your other homes, if they're not accepted or approved as eligible by FEMA, has anyone suffered any negative impacts because they signed off their life?
No, none whatsoever.
Okay.
Nothing you're gonna sign or be asked to provide to us is damaging to you if you decide halfway through the process to just opt out for personal reasons. You know, something changes on your side of it, there is no strings attached. There's no downside or baggage that goes with it.
And one more question, if you have a basement, from the ground down, the excavation of making that proper is on the homeowner?
The importing of dirt, the way it works is, there's a very specific rule that says we can demolish the foundation wall that sticks up out of the ground above the grass
Mm-hmm.
and cart it away and get reimbursed. The basement that's left, normally, there's a charge to the homeowner for the dirt that has to be brought in and fill the basement, so that when we're done, the property has to be basically graded off and leveled. So we couldn't leave a big basement exposed. And normally, we would just, it's set up so that for several $100s worth of dirt, the contractor fills the basement with dirt, clean fill, and grades it all off so that it's left in that condition. Because anything below grade is not FEMA eligible. So like the driveways and the sidewalks and even some of the front steps and things like that, and the foundation that goes down in the basement is not anything that we take out. That's left behind for the homeowner to deal with his, hopefully his building contractor.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Kim Swerk at 315 F Shore Drive. Do you wait to get a certain number of houses approved by FEMA and then you start demo?
Yes.
Okay, and how many houses is that?
Normally, we could do, it depends on the demand, and it works basically that if we have dozens and dozens of applicants that are just taking a while because their records aren't that great and they're scattered all around because of the storm or whatever, we'll try to get a couple of dozen houses all together for the first phase and the first contract. However, if we don't get a big demand, we don't get a lot of applications, say only a dozen people apply and only 5 people qualify, we can go out to bid for 5 houses.
Okay.
We want to go out to bid with as big a group as we can, based on common sense and our judgment, based on the interest that the community.
So you try not to do like the first 10 and then roll the rest of them?
No, if we could do it, ideally, we want to go out once with one contractor and get everybody included. But there usually could, it's not unusual to have maybe 1 or 2 phases, because there's kind of a first flight of applicants who are pretty organized and ready to go. And quite frankly, we want to start knocking stuff down so people start believing that this can really happen. And then as soon as you start taking down the first house, those homeowners become the biggest advocates to get other people excited about applying.
And I just have one question more for the council since Fran is here, and if you think it's appropriate, when we're done with this, can we get an update on community center?
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, Barbara, Carol go first, for 2 seconds.
What about people who are already in the process of having come to the demolition or lifting or anything of that nature? If they're already in the process, how would they be eligible to get into your program instead?
I think I'd have to look at the circumstances, but normally, yes, if you're going to demolish the house, but you haven't contracted or given deposits and you can unwind whatever you have going on, and this comes along as a better option, the short answer is yes, if you meet all the FEMA criteria.
Okay, now, how do they get information on that? Is there somebody they would call?
Everybody can call me at T&M after the borough decides if they're going to go forward with this. And I think they'll designate a representative or have that person steer people to me and my team. Probably Dan would be the person answering any questions with Dana's help. But those communication links would be clarified in any announcement that the borough puts out if and when they take that step. Yes.
How do you guys get paid?
We basically get paid the same way we get paid for any project that we do for any municipality. We tell them the manpower that's going to be involved, we come up with an estimate of man hours, we have billing rates, and we only charge the borough commensurate with the man hours and the activity. If there's,
Your costs, where do they come out?
they come out of the FEMA money as well. Everything that gets spent on the engineering gets reimbursed to the borough at 90% as well. Yes.
All right, Barbara.
Now, I'm concerned also about the burden to the borough. I know someone has to pay you and the contractors before FEMA is even reviewing paperwork.
That's correct.
How long, since you've done this in other areas, how long does it actually take for the reimbursement checks to come?
Roughly about 6 months.
So 6 months after putting money up front?
After we ask for the reimbursement. So, say it takes 6 months to get everything shaped up and out to public bid for the demolition contractors. We award a contract, say, for $500,000, depending on how many houses are involved. The contractors say he takes 4 months to do all the work. At the end of 4 months, say month 5, we issue his final payment. Once all the spending is done, we assemble all the documentation in strict compliance with FEMA, and we enter it into their system and request reimbursement. When we submit the request for reimbursement, it's It's usually roughly about 6 months later where they wire the money to the borough.
And what is the average cost per structure, I guess, with or without your services?
Very roughly, you have to envision basically two types of houses. One is kind of the smaller ranch-style home, maybe 2-bedroom. Maybe they average, I don't know, $10,000 or $12,000, $15,000 to the contractor.
Okay.
A bigger house, 2-story, full basement, 4 bedrooms and a loft and the attic and a 2-car garage or something like that, could be $25,000.
And then your charges would be based on an
Hourly rates based on what we do, only what we do. We get paid time and materials. So if we do 5 houses, it's a fee
What's your
smaller than if we
average-
do 55.
What's your average hourly login for one structure?
Our all-in fee
Mm-hmm.
is roughly, give me a real number, $5,000?
Okay.
Something like $5,000, $6,000, depending, and it's an average. You know, some are going to be more, some are going to be less. Some applications need 20 hours of our collective time to get squared away. Other people walk through the door and 2 hours later, our work is done.
Right.
So it's a very rough averaging, but we only get paid commensurate with real activity. We don't get paid lump sum, we don't get paid a percentage of the contractor's work. It's all very, transparent, and it's just like we do all the work, with municipalities.
Thank you.
Anybody up here have questions?
Just
I'm sorry.
Melissa Peterson, 17 Bay Street. You kind of said if and when. What's the criteria for the council deciding if this is something they're going to move forward with, and what's the timing for deciding if this is something they're going to?
I think we're gonna decide right now.
Okay.
That's okay with you guys. It's okay with me, is it okay with you guys?
Yeah, it's a big rollout. Yeah, we encourage everybody, more applicants, but
It's really, we want community buzz, so people, everybody takes advantage of it, that should.
Well, what is our budget for this? I mean, I know we did a 500 or
Right.
450. Can we go over that if you get 100 homes?
We have to come back and decide, I mean, that's quite a bit of ways away to
That'd be
see
a
where
good
we are. Yeah.
that'd be a good
It would, yeah, and then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The money, I believe, is already earmarked, so there's really, we can just proceed, so. With that, I'd like to make a motion that we proceed with the program and get it started. Ready, second? Okay. Okay.
Take a roll call.
Yeah,
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes,
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
thank you very much. And actually, do you want to do a quick update on the community center since it was asked, and then?
Yes, I can. I'll give you a very brief update. From what I understand, working with the project architect, he has given us an update that he has provided all the cost information that FEMA continues to request. It's really an ongoing process, but he has been very assertive in submitting the documentation that they've asked for. He is working on the final design plans and details and technical specifications and preparing the public bid documents. And his schedule calls for him to be done with the bid documents for public bidding at the end of May. The last
I can jump in on that. He's actually sent them to us for review, and we reviewed them. We have a few changes to make to them, but I prepared a resolution that Carolyn's going to add to the agenda tonight to approve those specs subject to our legal final review and authorize publication moving forward. So
That's a good update. I'm happy to report that the architect is scheduled, and we'll wait for the attorney's office to avoid any delays.
Okay.
We expect to put it out, the public bid, in the next several days or few weeks, so that the borough council, if we receive bids, if the bids come in accordance with our estimates, and there's no flaws in the bids that get submitted, we're hopeful that we'd be in a position to make a recommendation to award a construction contract in the very later days of June.
Right, so everything's still on track, which is great, and I know the governing body has decided whatever time we have to meet to have a special meeting to award that contract, if it's an off week or whatever. So you may see a, special meeting one resolution. That's pretty much it, just to get this moving forward. Okay. You have one question?
Kimberly, 26 Roger Street. With all these programs that take this length of time, and the borough is laying out money all along to keep the project on track, God forbid something like Sandy happens again, is there an umbrella? Is there an insurance policy that all that money is not lost? And we are now not FEMA compliant.
I would say, yes, that as we go forward with these programs like the community center, that's all been pre-approved by FEMA as eligible for reimbursement. If some major event were to happen, another storm came through, it doesn't negate the pre-approval for what had happened with Sandy. So that money's not going to disappear, you're not going to be voided that money. You would then start the process again, as horrific as that would be.
But that still costs money.
that way.
Yes, but you would have to then assess the new damage from the new event that would be separate from the old damage from Sandy. So you would now have like tandem activities.
Would there be some sort of, you can get insurance for anything? Because this process takes so long. You
Well,
know?
for example, like Hurricane Irene, we are still doing some projects because of the length of time it takes with FEMA and all the permits and DEP, that when Sandy hit, it was all separate. You were still closing out Irene projects with their money, as you were still eligible and covered under FEMA insurance policies and policies and coverages for the new storm damage that happens, even though you didn't finish the Irene storm damage.
What happens what happens to the Irene storm people or damage that was negated by Sandy, that didn't exist anymore, that was not fixable, that money was already paid out for, and by boroughs?
Well,
Is it
it was
just
a
on
loss.
them?
It was a loss that basically with the new storm event, FEMA will always pay if we can prove the loss. So say we were building a building that was half done and it got washed away. We lost the value of half the building, so they're going to replace that. Whatever we lost, they're going to fund. So they're going to give us, say it was a $2 million building and we spent $1 million to build it halfway and it got washed away, they're going to give us another $2 million to finish the new building. So it's not like you lose and you erode and only get one shot with FEMA if you're eligible. FEMA's coverage continues. Yes.
We still have to bond for the other million to catch up and get reimbursed.
Thank you, Fran. Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. Stick around, I don't think there's anything else.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, next up, consent agenda. Is there anything on here that anybody would like to hold out, discuss?
Resolution 117, the title erroneously lists the amount at 95,000, it's 30,000.
R-117.
Okay, can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll offer that. Offer by Ms. Ryan.
A second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Redmond. Mr. Hart.
Yes.
Ms. Kane.
Yes.
Mr. Redmond.
Yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
Resolution R-15-111.
We need to carry
Yeah,
that.
that's gonna be tabled.
The next meeting. Resolution R-15-118. Resolution authorizing appointment of public defenders.
I'm gonna make a motion to appoint the law firm of Bevin, Mosca, Giagotti, and Cirillo, PC. The one part that I have is Matthew, that we just met. All the public defenders were interviewed by Councilman Hart and Redmond. I believe there were 6 of them. 2 then came tonight before the rest of the governing body, which we made a decision out of the 2 to pick the one. So it was definitely weeded down and gone through the vetting process. So I'd like to make a motion, and I won't say their whole name again, but I would like to make a motion to move them forward.
Offer by Ms. Kane.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Redmond. Mr. Hart.
Yes.
Ms. Kane.
Yes.
Mr. Redmond.
Yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution R-15-119. Resolution refunding bonds.
Yeah, I can speak on that real quick. We already had an ordinance introduced and adopted, and what we're looking
is to take our existing debt, just like a mortgage, refinance it. There's projected savings of about $171,000, which would be spread over the life of the new bond. So this is a resolution setting out that formality.
I will make a motion to move that forward.
Offered by Ms. King,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Redmond. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes. And then Carol, just kind of guide me, because I know we're going to do the resolution for Tomato. I don't know which one you want to do first, community center or,
I think we're gonna do for the site analysis, on
Right.
120.
okay.
That would be a resolution authorizing professional architectural services, from that up to $10,000 for site analysis.
And
Those are
basically,
essentials.
and basically what this is, just because it's a new item, we discussed it in executive today, what we had was, we had T&M develop us a list of potential sites for a new borough hall facility. So every site that we've all discussed, collective as a group, is placed on this map. Now we need to find out, well, which one's really the best? You know, maybe Doug thinks one's the best, maybe I think one's the best, but which one's really the best to meet our needs for the future? Because that's what we're building for. We're building long after we're not here anymore. So what site is really going to be the best? And I think the architect is going to be the person that's going to be able to tell us that. He's going to be able to say, this site is exactly what you need. It'll meet your needs. It'll meet the flood needs. So he'll basically give us a recommendation on site selection. And I think, personally, I think it's a good way to vet out the different sites that we have in store. So he'll go to the original site for replacement, see if we go there, and then other sites that have been talked about throughout the process.
It's 90% reimbursed.
Yes, and it's also 90% reimbursed to FEMA. Just a quick one, very quick.
Does this include sites that the borough does not currently own, as well as sites that the borough?
Yes.
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere that he has discussed, it's borough-owned property, it's property that people may have shown an interest in selling, which, we don't know. Maybe.
Someone has property out there and emails.
Yeah, so I think it's a very good thing, and it's definitely the start and the catalyst of getting the next facility up and running. So with that, I'd like to move resolution 15-120, appointing Joe Tomato for site selection of the new borough hall facility.
Okay, and I would like to second that.
Second by Ms. Ryan. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Resolution R 15-121, resolution authorizing the borough council to prepare bid specs, advertise and accept bids for the rehabilitation of the Robert D. Wilson Memorial Community Center. Whereas the Robert D. Wilson Memorial Community Center was severely damaged by Superstorm Sandy and is currently unusable, and whereas the borough council has determined that it is necessary to the ability of the community center that the borough and its residents may utilize the community center. And whereas pursuant to NJSA 48.11-1, accept the borough plan, solicit bids to rehabilitate the community center. Whereas the United Borough Council has determined that it is in the best interest of the residents of the borough to solicit bids to rehabilitate the community center.
Are you done?
Now therefore be resolved. Now therefore be resolved that governing body of the Borough of Highlands, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, that the borough, its agents, officials, and professionals are hereby authorized to prepare bid specs to approval for the borough attorney for the behalf of the community. Be it further resolved that the borough, after the preparation of bid spec, is authorized to advertise and accept bids for the rehab of the Robert D. Wilson Memorial Community Center. Be it further resolved that all borough officials, including but not limited to the mayor, the borough administrator, the borough clerk, are hereby authorized and directed to take such ministerial actions as are necessary to effectuate the provisions of this resolution.
In other words, you're approving the draft specs subject to my final review.
Okay. All right, well, I quite frankly think we're all going to fight to send that one forward, but whoever wants to.
I would like to offer that.
Offered by Mrs. Ryan,
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Redmond. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
That takes us onto ordinances on for second reading and public hearing. Ordinance 0-15-7. It's going to be
It's a change in title only. The new title is an ordinance accepting a deed of site triangle easement for block 101, lot 27.02 for Pulte Homes of New Jersey, so that we remove the phrase and stormwater easement. It's just a change, removal of that phrase from the title. It doesn't change the substance of the ordinance, and you proceed with consideration.
That's the public hearing.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Does anybody have anything on ordinance 15-7? Hearing none, close public portion.
on for final reading and adoption is ordinance 0-15-7, an ordinance accepting a deed site triangle easement for block 101, lot 27.02 from Pulte Homes of New Jersey.
I'll make a motion to accept that.
Ms. Kane,
Second.
second by Mr. Park. Mr. Park?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
On to second reading and public hearing is ordinance 0-15-8, an ordinance accepting various deeds and easements from Sandy Developers LLC for block 101, lot 27.03. This was published in the Two River Times on April 17th and is now ready for public hearing.
Is there anything that,
No, this
no
is,
changes? Okay. Anybody on public hearing for ordinance 15-8? Okay. Hearing none?
Okay.
Are you? Do you want to do 15-8?
Oh, you're done with it? I'm sorry, I apologize
That's
for
okay.
being late. Is this to make comments on the
on what?
construction stuff going on back?
No, no, that will be public portion. So, and since you're not normally here, just make sure you sign in on the list, okay?
Okay, on for final reading and adoption is ordinance 0-15-8, an ordinance accepting various deeds and easements from Sandy Developers LLC for block 101, lot 27.03.
Okay, can I get a motion to move that forward?
All motion.
Offered by Mr. Carter,
Second? I'll second that.
seconded by Ms. Ryan. Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
On for second reading and public hearing is ordinance 0-15-15, an ordinance supplementing chapter 16 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Highlands with section 16-5 prohibited animals. This was published on April 17th in the New York Times, and we now go for public hearing.
Anybody for public hearing for ordinance 15-15? Okay, hearing none, close public portion.
On for final reading and adoption is ordinance 0-15-15, an ordinance supplementing chapter 16 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Highlands with section 16-5 prohibited animals.
Okay, can I get a motion for that?
Offered by Mr. Bard,
Second? I'll second that.
second by Ms. Ryan. Mr. Bard?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes. Okay.
For second reading, public hearing is ordinance 0-15-16, an ordinance amending section 7-3.4 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Highlands regulating parking on Portland Road. This was published in the April 17th edition of the New York Times, and we now ready for public hearing.
Anybody have anything on 0-15-16 for parking on Portland Road? Ms. Bucko, I just state your address?
Carol Loco, 330. I love it when you say, except parking shall be permitted between Highland Avenue and Hillside on the east side of Portland Road. I'm assuming you're going to put signage, so we don't have to determine which is the east and which is the west.
Good question.
Well, which is the north and which is the south.
We'll have signs up that say no parking.
Well, the east side would seem to me, she said east faces the word, the east side would seem to me to be where there are no spaces to park. The west side, if that is the side on the right, that's where there are spaces to park. So I don't know.
On which section, Carol?
Portland Road,
Yeah, but-
between Hillside and.
No, there are parking, there literally
You have
is
the gateway
parking.
on that side, and you have.
Yeah, but there's curb line there. There's definitely curb line there.
Yeah, on.
On both sides.
Both sides?
Yes, there is. I hear what you're saying, but one of the sides, I think in that area, they're allowing parking potentially, I didn't read it again, but potentially in that area, the road is wide enough to allow parking. As you go further up, they're going to prohibit that,
Well, why are you just allowing parking on both sides?
because it's in certain areas.
I'm talking about that area, that little bit of area. There are two sides to that little bit of area, from
Okay.
Hillside to Highland.
And in the chief's opinion, the chief of police, for parking, if he recommended one side of the street, we're gonna go whatever his recommendations are.
Can we paint the curb yellow where you're not allowed to park?
Rather than put a sign that no one will read, but they can read
Yeah,
colors.
it can be painted yellow legally with the right paint, and it has to be designated, yeah.
When I said we, I meant the borough, not us personally, because I know from Carol's experience, you can't do that.
Whoa!
Had a story.
Carol, she wanted to know if you're gonna paint the curb yellow for us, translation.
Oh, we'll do it, as long as we can paint our driveway in.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on ordinance 15-16? Okay, hearing none, for a vote.
I'll provide reading and adoption of ordinance 0-15-16, an ordinance amending section 7-3.4 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Highlands regulating parking on Portland Road.
Can I get a motion for that?
Offered by Mr. Carr.
Made in second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Redmond. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yeah.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes. And then we have ordinance 0-15-17, which needs to be tabled.
Yeah, we just need additional time for the map.
Okay, and then,
Excuse me for the,
Okay.
map.
Ms. Kane, if I could, I'm sorry, this as well, if I could just talk to that for a minute. The clerk had approached us about updating the 200-foot, or not the 200-foot map for the drug-free zones. And it's a map that needs to be certified by the surveyors, has to be approved by the prosecutor. So it's more than just updating the map. So we can do that for you, just it'll require a resolution. So if you want, if it's the council's pleasure, we can do a proposal for the next meeting. If you guys want to continue with that, it's up to you on how you want to proceed.
I mean, you can draft up you can draft up a proposal for June 3rd, if that's okay. Okay. And then also, Carol, before we go on to other business, I'd like to add resolution 15-122, because we just unanimously voted to move forward with PPDR, but we didn't do a resolution to start the program.
Okay.
So I don't know,
I'm just running the bus.
yeah.
Can I make a short comment on 0-15-17? I think section 1 has a typo in the animal prohibited. Okay. That R, the last one.
We can't give drugs to animals, I mean.
Now the chickens are crazy.
But my cat really likes it.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, so we're not gonna move forward with this at this time. We're gonna do a resolution, R 15-122, resolution to authorize T&M to move forward with the private property debris removal program. Program. Anyone else?
Okay,
Offered.
Offered by Mr. Carr,
I'll second it.
second by Ms. Kane. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes. All right, other business, we have Borough Engineer Status Report.
Yeah, thank you. Real quick, the word of the night is permitting. Basically, a lot of the projects are in the permitting stage now. I'll be talking to Mr. de Blasio between now and the end of the week about getting the checks cut for the various permit applications we need to submit to the various agencies. Right now, that's where the overall stormwater project sits. We're ready to get the permits in for all that. Also, the North Street Pump Station, still working on some finalized things with the pump manufacturer, but permits are also ready to be submitted for that. The Bay Street retaining wall, that project's nearing completion. A lot of the wall work has been completed. It has spoken to the contractor about the curbing along the east side of the street, so we'll be working on that over the next couple of weeks. The Waterwitch Avenue and Linden Avenue drainage project, also known as the DBIS pipe. We received comments from the county. We met with the county, reviewed those comments with them, revised the plans. Now they're back in county for final review. So once that gets done, we can move forward and get that out to bid. The 880 walkway project, it's below the bid threshold, so we can do informal quotes on that. So that'll be going forward in June. The streetscape project, design is substantially complete. We've had several really good meetings with Councilman Card, Councilman Redmond, and Mr. Hill. If it's the council's pleasure, I'd like to continue that process with the other projects too. I think it's beneficial to get the input as we go forward with design. So if there are any concerns or questions that are raised by council, we can address them instead of having to go back and redo some things. So if council okay with it, I'd like to continue with that, with the three amigos, I'll call them. If I could do that to keep things moving forward. There's a lot of projects going on. I think it's beneficial to continue that process.
Absolutely. I don't think we want to delay in anything.
No, absolutely not. And then, like I said, the meetings have been really, I think they've been fruitful on both sides. So it's been good. Next thing would be to schedule a meeting with the businesses to go over the streetscape. So if somebody wants to coordinate that, or
As the liaison to the HVP, I can facilitate that. I mean,
Yes,
the only
definitely.
problem is I'll be the HVP liaison, so you guys will have to split up one of these. We'll figure that out.
It's not a violation of sunshine law.
So-
We're not making a decision.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
It's not a violation.
Okay.
Information being disclosed
Okay.
that helps.
So then we'll go ahead and let me know when you're ready to set that up. When
Absolutely.
you have your documents ready, and I can always find a facility.
okay. Yeah, we'll definitely coordinate a couple times and dates and have that.
I'm thinking it'll be probably a Monday, because that might be a little slower during the summer season
But not this one.
not this
All right,
one.
right.
You can have off this Monday.
I'm just making sure.
So,
So anyway, so once we have that meeting and we vet out any concerns from the businesses, if there are any, and we go through the process, we'll be advertising that project for bid too, so that'll go to construction very shortly. The resurfacing of Shore Drive Phase 2 from Waterwich down to Locust, or Willow, I should say. That project, final plans have been returned to the DOT for final review. So once they give authorization to advertise, we will do so. And then the last project would be the Shrewsbury Avenue rehab along with the North Street storm sewer pipe. That design is well underway. That's another permitting package to be prepared. I'll talk to you about permit fees. And then we'll be going to construction with that too this summer. So lots going on, but everything's moving forward.
construction this summer. Okay. But all good stuff.
All right.
Anything else, Doug?
No, that's it for tonight.
Okay. Valley Ave one-way report, Councilwoman Ryan.
Okay, before I go to the report, I want to tell you all that we are not voting on anything tonight. It's just a report, and it will certainly have to go to Chief Willett before any decisions would possibly be made. Okay, following on the results of an informal survey conducted after residents of Valley Avenue above Route 36 and residents of surrounding streets voiced objections to Valley Avenue becoming one-way. The street was changed to one-way into Valley Avenue from Route 36 after a resident requested help after more than 16 accidents occurred in 17 years on the corner of Route 36 and Valley Avenue where her home is located. The borough changed the street to one-way and also installed metal posts to deter vehicles from crashing onto her property. She appeared at a recent council meeting to report that there has not been one accident since the new signage was installed. Most other residents were not happy that the one-way went into effect without any notice to them, by mail or otherwise, and also that they did not have the chance to voice their opinions before the council made the change. After Mayor Nolan asked me to look into the situation, I spoke with 35 residents who offered their opinions, and here are the results. Number one, well, actually, keep the one-way, it is safer. One person stated that. Keep the one-way, I do not drive, one person stated that. Put it back the way it was, 24 people. Make the one-way in the other direction, 9 people. Several residents suggested that in addition to putting the street back the way it was, that a double ring of metal posts be installed on the corner to secure the safety of the resident who lives on the corner. And one resident wanted me to read her initial statement, and this is Ms. Jennifer Simcox, who lives on Valley Avenue, right on the corner. Quote, I live on the corner of Valley Avenue and 36. I was never asked any questions about it becoming a one-way, nor was I informed it was going to become a one-way. For me to head west for anything, I have to go all the way down to Off the Hook and take the circle by bars, or cut through the church yard, which I am sure will become illegal. The garbage men do not follow the one-way sign.
They almost took me out when I was pulling out of my spot on the left-hand side of the road to take a turn onto Valley Avenue. I am not sure what I'm going to do. This was given to me quite a while ago when the mayor first asked me to do this. She says that I don't know what I'm going to do if we get a bad snowstorm. The only way for me to get to my house will be to go up Miller and take Highlands Avenue back down to Valley Avenue. Last year, my car couldn't even make it up Miller due to the ice and snow. Okay, so that is the result of the survey, and if anybody else has anything to add?
Have you sent it to Chief Blewett yet?
I have not,
Okay.
because I didn't know if he would be here tonight. We will get this, I think he's still away.
Yeah.
I'll get it to him.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Are we taking questions now?
Well, we could do it, you want to do it in public? I mean, yeah, we'll do it in public portion.
Okay, because this is not a resolution.
My other questions are wait, why don't we table until we get Chief Lewis's response to it?
Yeah, we'll handle everything under public portion.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, Monmouth County Open Space Grant Program, Tim?
Yeah, annually, the Monmouth County Park System has what they call the Monmouth County Municipal Open Space Grant Program. We have applied for these funds in the past. Currently, the ADA project, the Community Center Walkway, is part of that funding. Once that grant is used and we get reimbursed and close out, we will be eligible to apply for up to $250,000 for a park-related project. It is a 50% matching program, so whatever project may be out there that we may consider, it is 50-50 split. So we had a $100,000 project, or we'll be eligible for 50% of that cost. So it's been a very good program in the past. We have received funding when we have applied. Again, this current project has to be closed out, but we should be able to meet the deadline. The application deadline is 4 p.m. on Wednesday, September 16th. So we do have time, but I'd like to make sure that we consider options or potential projects that we've discussed that we didn't think we had funds for. The matching funds can come from a variety of sources, so that's the good news as well. And we talked about potentially the park areas that were impacted from Sandy might be an opportunity to get matching funds we already have matched with this and get the project done. So that's what I have to report on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, you would be able to use the open space fund or whatever you call it,
Yeah.
trust,
Yeah.
to match. So we
Yes.
don't have to do any other searching.
Well, no, we have other funds that we've received that could potentially be used for match if we're doing the project in that same location.
Oh, like the snowflake, that would count as a
Count as match.
Okay.
So it's a way of leveraging and matching the dollars, because the county doesn't quite frankly care where the match comes from.
Right.
You
It
know,
just has to be
It
a
has to be a
park.
match, 50%.
Yeah, it has to be for a park.
Or a park-related facility, it can't be for a street, it can't be, you know, you could think out there what you might want to consider a park, but it has to be park-related. Park and open space. It can be used for acquisition as well. Yes, and we have pursued that in the past.
That's nice, you can pick that up for him.
Not necessarily.
$500,000, you can pay $250, that's awesome.
We'll talk offline. I'll talk to you about a historical that we.
Okay, guys,
But thank you. If you have any questions or comments or project ideas, please let us know.
Okay, before we get in the public portion, I'm just going to announce that on Saturday at 1 p.m. we have our annual Memorial Day Parade, which will start down by Huddy Park, I believe, correct?
Yeah.
And then proceed down by the American Legion, and go into Veterans Park. So if anybody'd like to come out and salute, you know, hopefully we have good turnout.
Isn't the reflag at 9 though?
The
Yeah.
reflag, yes.
Well, the replaying is at 9. If anyone wants to attend that, though,
Yes.
they can chase us around.
Yeah, we kind of run like
We
You
go
would
from
be
park to
surprised
park.
how many monuments are in town till you're trying to put a wreath at every one of them. I had no, there were monuments that I didn't even know were in parks, by the field. Yeah, I had no idea. So, and we do go at 9 in the morning and put a wreath in every month. Okay, that being said, I'm gonna go to public portion. Kim Skorka, 315 Shore Drive.
I just wanted to comment about Valley being a one-way. If it's gonna avoid accidents, I think it's a good thing. In addition to Chief Blewett, I'd like to know what the police department and what the first aid squad have to say about not having to go to calls. But we can discuss that later.
But we like not to go to calls.
Yeah.
We prefer not to go to calls. Yeah. We prefer not to go to calls, but.
I'm just curious for Tim if the, and maybe Pat as well, if the detail of the other line items in the budget is available yet?
I can answer that. I met with Tim Hill last week, and we're about 90% complete. I got a little jammed up this week because I had to take a conference, 2 days of classes, but I expect it to be ready by early next week.
Get those CPEs in.
Yeah.
Okay, and Becky, I was hoping Frank would be here. Do you know when the finance committee is going to meet again?
I have not heard from the mayor on that. So, I mean, we can definitely generate an email and I can ask him tomorrow. And I'll put everybody on it and see, so we can kind of close it up because we want to have a public hearing prior to.
Right, and I was going to ask about the town hall, but the mayor's not here either for that. Yeah, I have notes all over the place. I think that might be it. Thank you.
Good. Okay, Lori Dibble, 2 Matthew Street.
Okay, my question is, in the executive session, there's a listing of special co-attorney, and I'm just wondering if anybody could comment on what the impact, or if there's a co-obligation that the town will have based on the new special oversight for COA that's being done for the courts, and is that something that could potentially impact some of these development decisions that we're making?
That's a lot of questions in one, but the COA attorney was, that item arose out of the Supreme Court case in March,
Yes.
which requires municipalities to take certain actions by the second week of July. By certain action, meaning determining whether to file a lawsuit or not. And if we do determine to file a lawsuit, some of the answers to those questions may be part of that lawsuit, so I prefer not to answer them publicly. You can understand that because it might affect the litigation strategy in relation to that.
So are you saying that the town is thinking of joining in a lawsuit?
No. Are you familiar with the Supreme Court case from March? What it said was that municipalities need to file a lawsuit seeking a declaratory judgment that their fair share is being met. That action has to be filed by July 8th. So we are determining whether to actually file that lawsuit for a declaratory judgment.
It's my understanding that although Highlands submitted material asking to be exempted from the COA requirements, that exemption was never actually certified. Is that?
I'm not aware of any certifications.
Okay. So that means that the question as to whether or not there is a COA obligation in Highlands is open.
Well, it means that neither a court nor COA, as far as I know, has signed off on Highlands' fair share obligation. It does not mean that Highlands does not meet its fair share obligation.
Okay. Does that leave us potentially open to a developer's suit to build under COA?
That is a possibility. Which is why we're considering filing a lawsuit to follow up on that decision.
Carol Bucko, 330 Drive.
230 Shore Drive. I just have two short questions. The public defender, does he have a name? Or is it just a firm?
Matt Parlavecchio. Matthew Parlavecchio.
Parlavecchio?
In good Italian, but
Good Italian.
pronounce that
Okay,
right.
I guess he's all right. Now, resolution 15-111, did you take it?
Yes.
Yes, and there's a form issue related to it. That would be why.
What is the need for a?
It's an ongoing investigation that we can't comment on the specifics of it. It's somewhat personnel related. But it needs to continue, so it needs further authorization, but because of certain conflicts, we don't have enough votes to vote on.
You have to have three. Okay.
Are you okay, Ms. Bucko? All right.
Yeah.
Barbara Iannucci, 28 Shore Drive. Oh, I'm sorry, she's going.
She moves.
Sorry.
Carol,
I think I'm looking at Kim and then
Town.
half and half.
No, I'm not gonna say anything, thank you.
You're good? Okay.
Must be done, okay.
Eileen Scanlon.
Eileen Scanlon,
24
Fifth Street. I haven't been in a lot of meetings recently, but I was wondering on the code enforcement, especially, I have this bee in my bonnet about an abandoned building on my street. That I'm wondering, is anybody taking any actions or doing anything further on those? I know this has been talked about a great deal in the past. Specific building I'm talking about is 27 Fifth. And nobody's been in there for 9 years.
I think what we could do is bring that forward to code enforcement and ask for an update.
I think I sent an email, but
Okay.
it was a long time ago to code enforcement specifically about it. I don't even think I got a reply. Maybe I'll send another one.
Okay, and and we can work through it with Mr. Hill too.
Okay.
And see where we're at.
And I'll just add to that, know that with the new judge and Dave Mercado, our code enforcement officer, he's moving forward a lot more summonses
Great.
because of the judge and we've been aggressive on this council with that, so it's moving forward.
You certainly have my support. Somebody's got to take those people to account. My second question, and I realize there are issues of confidentiality here, but I see on the closed agenda, it was the JCP&L. There are a lot of people in Highlands who are lifting, rebuilding, facing a lot of JCP&L issues with electrical wires and everything. I'm just wondering, is there anything updated that anybody can tell me about that? So we don't solve it after I pay the 20,000.
Now, the only thing if I can give advice on is make sure that you're in full compliance, make sure your contractor, electrical contractor, whoever's doing the work understands what the rules and regulations are that Jersey Central Power and Light has out there.
And where would we get those from?
JCP&L directly, or we can get them through the construction office.
Okay.
Okay, because unfortunately, it's not just Highlands, but it's statewide. There's been some serious concerns about the way that some of the work has been done. It's almost in mind-boggling situations.
Right, and right now I'm in the planning stage of something, but, I don't even have architecture drawings yet, but I'm looking at it saying, this is a problem.
You're good to be proactive on that thing, really.
But I hear, whispers that, the JCP&L are charging homeowners vast amounts of money to move poles, and, that people are suing other people, and I don't know the whole story, so.
Okay. Gert Softman?
Gert Softman, 157 Bay Avenue. I want to bring something up to the council's attention that's happened to me. The St. Bernard project that's been operating in town is absolutely fraudulent. At this point in the game, they have dropped me. After 9 months of telling me, don't worry, you've been qualified, we've taken all your information, stacks of paperwork. 3 weeks ago, a month ago, they said, we're having trouble, there's a $50,000 shortfall, we're having trouble meeting the difference. Okay, let's cut back on construction, let's, you've been doing pie in the sky, let's cut back. Then they say, oh, well, you're difficult to work with. Really? Then the person today tells me, well, we can't help you because you own a rental property in North Jersey. If you liquidate that property, we can then help you. So I said, well, for all intents and purposes, you're telling me to quit my job because the rental property in Morristown is how I get income. No, I'm not working a 9-to-5 job. That's how I get my income. 9 months ago, you approved me. We went forward, going forward with your architect, your builder, December meeting with these people. Their builder told me, all you have to do is be patient. We've got it handled. They're screwing people up, and we need to really look at what they're doing, because I'm filing a complaint. They're a 501c3. I'm filing a complaint with Better Business Bureau and with 501c oversight committees and all of that stuff, because they're out and out frauds, and you've got to watch that, because this is mind-boggling. What they've spent, what they've accounted for, and the crap that they're going to report, where I'm left high and dry, but they've helped me for the last year. No, they haven't. And that's what they're doing. And from what I understand from some contractors, they've done that with other people as well. So,
Jerry Feliciano, North Peachtree Street.
Jerry Feliciano, 14 North Peach, the second worst street in the town. Valley Avenue going to be brought up in the next meeting?
In the next meeting?
Yes.
I guess we would have to check with the chief.
The report will go to Chief Lewis, okay, and then he will tell me when he will, report on it. I don't know if it'll be the next meeting or not. I'll talk to you about it, I'll let you know.
All right.
And you can check and see if it's on the agenda.
Yeah, I have a few people who try to come up to visit me, they don't know how to get to my house now.
Yes.
Because even if I walk them up, the valley is one way. You still have to go in the wrong direction to get up to my Peach Street.
Okay.
How is the
All
street?
right, then. Thank you, Jerry. Okay. Patty and Scott Giebler, 25 Bay Street.
Actually, I have a quick question and then probably not as quick. The four-way stop at Miller and Highland Ave, is the fact that there are no parking signs or yellow curbing at any proximity to those stop signs, is that proper? Because you can't see past the trucks that sit there, and people don't stop, and is there supposed to be no parking? I mean, no parking in that area, but based on the residency of it?
Right, well, what we can do is have Councilman Redmond go to the PD and just check the intersection, and if there's something.
Yeah, I'm just curious, because there's no yellow line, nothing.
Back to on Friday.
Okay, yeah.
At all four, right?
Four.
Yeah.
It is hard to see,
Yeah,
it's
it's
not.
tough. It is.
It's hard to see, yeah, a lot of people, we could probably make a little money on people blowing through that stop sign, but there are no, there's no yellow curbing, and you're parking right to that corner. People are parking right there, you can't see. So that's one thing. And of course, the other thing I'm here for is Bay Street and finding out really what is the grand design. What's gonna happen on Bay Street after this wall is done? Homes are starting to sink in the back on the east side. It's been happening for years, and it can't continue. It just can't. I'm very anxious. I do not want to do anything with my house until the street is fixed. I am dropping in the back end of my house. It's dropping, it's been dropping. I got a crack along the front line. It's been there for 15, 25 years. Something has to be done, or it's gonna go right on down the east side of that thing, of Bay Street. The foundations are cracked. They're cracked.
But you're saying there's no drainage system?
There's no drainage system. I mean, you folks know the emails have been going, and they're going and going and going and going and going. I don't want 3 minutes. I just want resolution. We've been paying and paying and paying, and we're getting nothing. I just want information. I want details. I want a plan. What is it? What's going to happen after this borough right-of-way? I have this blueprint that shows part of what we've been maintaining all this time is borough property. Okay, I'll give you a copy of the blueprint. I'll fix the wall, let's fix the drainage system, do something, okay? But give us some information, you have all our emails. Just put it in an email and give us some line items, here's what's happening. I know that you folks have lots to do. I get it, I do. But, you know, I don't bitch a lot down here, you don't see me, but can you help, please? Okay?
I know there's been a lot of communication, we talked about this in closed session, under potential litigation, because there has been discussion of litigation, I think from some residents and some other issues. So I'm going to advise you not to say anything in public about that. If it's something you want to talk about separately or with the administrator, but I would request that I be present because there's been a discussion.
Well, I mean, if I need an engineer to come up and really give me an official report on the structure of my home, then I'll do it.
Basically,
But,
the
you know, I don't wanna
drainage is
do it
sinking
until
the back
the
of our
drainage is
home
done.
into Peak Street. And the homes along Bay Street are all sinking. We've been bitching about this for years.
You know, I
Fred
don't
Nolan
wanna
stood
do
in my
that.
backyard after Irene, we lost the retaining wall 30 feet across. And it washed into our neighbor's yard down towards Peak Street. We had to replace her fence and the retaining wall. And since then, nothing's been done. Not even like a little berm to direct the flow of water down the other side. And we put in new molding and whatnot. Everything's popping. My basement is selling. I can sit right down and go home. You can hear the popping of our timbers and our molding. It's not in danger of happening. It's happening.
So, I mean, well, I don't wanna do lawsuits.
And,
I don't
I
wanna
have
do
to
it,
fix a
but-
retaining wall that belongs to the township. It's in front of my yard where a telephone pole sits in the middle of the street. And that's in danger of falling into my yard.
Okay, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have Bruce Padula meet with Dale, get a game plan, and then talk
We
to
just
the
wanna
affected
hear what's
residents.
happening.
and
Is it
The
moving
water is
forward?
going down across the
see what we
street,
can do.
not down the street. It's going under our home
Okay,
and down Peak Street. And I can go in my basement right now. I can go turn the Ranger game on and I can feel pain pop.
okay,
No, and I know you're a Devil fan. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, well, it's not a joke.
We'll take care of it with Bruce and the attorney, and we'll get in touch with you guys. Go from there. Okay.
Thank you.
Jeanette Grogan, 1 Bay Street?
Yeah, my problem is the same.
Same?
Yeah, so without people reiterating exactly what they're saying, I started in 1989 begging the town to just put sidewalk and curbing. That went on for almost 20 years, and I got the sidewalks and curbs just a few years ago. But now that this temporary berm, I had a temporary berm in front of my house for 20 years, the temporary berm that they poured on the east side to help the residents at the other end of Bay Street has now, I'm the corner lot of Bay and Miller, so all of the water is now coming down Bay on the west side, the east side, right to my lot. I have an engineer's report from 2009 stating that my problem is the infiltration of water. It has caused my foundation to crack. I have little mini geysers, with like inches and inches of water. A retaining wall has fallen, my driveway is crumbling. And this, with the project and directing even more water now, I appreciate they're going to put a curb, or they're talking about curbing on the east side, but you're directing it right to my home and you're undermining it. So I think we're all here begging, please help us, protect our homes.
Melissa Peterson, 17 Bay Street?
Two things. First, Tim, I want to address a comment that you and I had at the last meeting where you erroneously said that the $800,000 included the lift of the community center. I would like you to publicly retract that statement since it was incorrect.
What I said was the 800,000 is a moving target, and you contended that I argued with you, which I don't believe I did. So
I can pull it up on YouTube right now.
okay, you can pull it up.
I can
I
pull it up
appreciate
anytime.
that.
And
Your question
exact
directly-
statement was
your-
that 800,000 was inclusive.
You
of
asked a
raising
question.
the-
Please let him answer.
I apologize if you feel that the $800,000 total was incorrect. What I meant to say, and I did state, that $800,000 is a moving target. People kept latching onto that number as a fixed number, and it's continually moving. That's all I was commenting on.
Your direct statement was that it was inclusive of the lift, which I feel was very misleading, and I just wanted you to admit that that was incorrect and apologize for that.
You're stating that it's incorrect. I don't agree that it was incorrect.
Okay, what's your next question, Melissa? We're not gonna go to the YouTube tape right now.
I mean, I understand what you're saying.
I'm
I
repeating your
don't
words to you.
agree that that number was incorrect.
I didn't say you, I said the number included the lift. You said that that number included the lift.
Okay, so if I did, and that's what I said, what do you want me to apologize for? I believe that $800,000 included the lift. I believe that.
And I gave you the documentation that it absolutely didn't include the lift.
That was a general report provided by T&M, and that's what I said, that number is a moving target. So I apologize if you feel I misled the public in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you for apologizing.
But I didn't argue with you.
Yeah, just like right now. Okay. Second question, Bay Street. The fact that you guys won't comment on anything, all we're asking for is what's going to be done. For example, when asking about the curb, it was stated the curb was going to be done for as much money as we had, which is really not an answer. Does that mean that it's going halfway down the street? Does that mean it's going all the way down to the east side? I think that's a fair question. What exactly does that mean? And to state that you can't answer, or to have Mr. Padula say that it's improper to answer based on a lawsuit, which I'm assuming that means by me, which I kind of stated as a last resort, that's what we're going to have to do if nothing transpires, is ultimately ridiculous. So I kind of wanted to know on comment, on record, what the curb entails. What does that mean, as much money as we have? Does that mean a foot? Does that mean 15 feet? Does that mean the whole east side? What exactly does that mean?
I think we've answered all the questions on Bay Street, and we told you what we're going to do.
I didn't hear the answers. How far is the curb going to continue?
Right,
down?
We responded to the
happen?
comments.
Yeah.
That we're going to set up a meeting, Councilman Carr and the engineer, and we will respond to you.
So you answered.
There were clearly threats of
Answer my
litigation,
question.
and I would not be doing my job if I let them publicly comment on certain things that you've threatened litigation over.
Because litigation, because you won't do anything as a last resort.
This is
As a
going on
last
for
resort,
years.
all you
All
have
right,
to
guys.
do is
I remember repeating what the attorney just said. We agreed to set up a meeting with Dale, the town engineer, myself, Padula, and the residents up there, and give an educate on what our options are to solve the problem. We recognize there's a problem. That's what we're prepared to do today. In the very near future, we set that meeting up. We don't have the answers here.
Thank you.
Okay. Will Craig for Bay Street?
I believe that the gentleman just
You're good?
answered my question. I wasn't, it is with the residents as well, correct?
Yes.
Yes, we will include residents.
And do you have an estimated date?
As soon as we coordinate.
I mean, and honestly, I mean, we knew there was construction up at Bay Street for the rest of the council, but for those not on those emails, myself and Tara Ryan, this is the first we're hearing of it. So I am truly, sorry that you guys are so upset.
Is there a timeline for the meeting?
Like,
What's possible?
probably within a week or two, you know, I mean, you got
Before the
Memorial,
next- before the
you know,
next council.
yeah, I mean, you're gonna have Memorial Day, there's a day, you know, a holiday day, and we'll figure it out from there.
Thank you.
Okay, Carolyn Bouillon, 12 Miller Street.
Well, what I'm gonna have to say is gonna sound kind of silly after all this. But, yeah, well, with spring, we used to always have, the DPW guys used to come and repaint all the yellow lines, downtown at least. But that hasn't happened in about 6 years. So I'm not saying it's a Sandy-related thing, because it hasn't happened in 6 years. So I was just wondering if maybe this was the spring, that maybe we can get the yellow lines painted, because people are taking to painting their own yellow lines, and then they get yelled at by various people. So I was just putting it out there. And also for JCP&L, when that comes up, and they are trying to go after the residents, there's about 5 poles on Miller Street that are sitting at about 65-degree angles, which is not exactly safe. So if they're coming after us for how the electricians are tying into the service lines, we really should be going into unsafe situations where you can drive down certain roads and scrape into telephone poles, because they're leaning over that much. And they're not our poles or Verizon poles, they are GCPML poles. That's it for me.
Okay. Katie Reed, 7 Snow Harbor.
Hi. I didn't have a sitter tonight.
It's okay, you wanna come up front?
Really important to me. A couple other meetings, I presented a pamphlet with the dilapidated properties. You all know that's my cause. I was really happy to see the FEMA guy here. I think that's helpful and hopefully will be, whatever that guy was. But I was really happy to see that. I do have a concern. I called out Dave Mercado on these code compliance things. I said, this property's been sitting here for so long. You know, if you can't get a CO, let it go. And I really did put him on the forefront of this. You know, these properties have been sitting for decades. Come on. And I just feel like he's maybe retaliating a little bit. We have a property on 71 Waterwich, the detail shop. I have a great tenant. She has a wonderful business. We are very thankful that she's in town. Now, after I submit this to the council 2 weeks ago, he starts threatening, fining my tenant for a Connex box that he already approved to put on the lot. I feel there's a little bit of, shady play going on here, and I just want everyone to be aware that that's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable. You can't enforce one code and then look the other way for decades on other things, and just because I highlight it, then, I mean, I just want to bring it to light, what's going on.
Okay, I don't know.
And just a little bit.
Well, hold on, let's let that answer Katie first. Tim, do you want to answer?
Well, first of all,
I'm not sure.
I just
want to give the timeline of my storage container and kind of what's happened. Kimberly, 25th Street, at 71 Waterwich.
Yeah.
I have,
Let's let Katie get her answer first. Right, and then.
It's the same problem.
but what is her question? I don't believe it's retaliation, however, I want to,
Okay, Dave
and
Mercado
we're
was
working,
obviously negligent in doing his job on these other issues. However, the Connex box that he approved that box.
but he forgot that he approved.
no, I understand, we're working with you directly on this.
Everyone forgot they signed the
But it
permit.
is related. It is related, because I've been highlighting
I have
his negligence
summons.
on
I have a
another
summons
issue.
to appear in court June 2nd.
I understand.
So fine, I'm going to appear in court June 2nd. But as with the email that I received yesterday, I needed to remove the container by Saturday.
Of holiday weekend.
Tuesday to Saturday. You think you can call a trailer company and get them to remove something in 3 days on a holiday weekend? Plus I spent all my labor moving everything out of it. Then, today, he just decided that no, and I responded and I said I'd give you a date of June 14th, absolute removal of the container. I was responded that I will get fined every day after Saturday, but I have a summons on June 2nd, which would say to me that I have until June 2nd to resolve this problem before the court. I've been in town not even a year. I consolidated 2 businesses from Allenhurst and Rumson into Highlands to believe in the town. I have a permit. I have it signed. It doesn't, regardless, I did the right thing. I found out what paperwork. I got it filed. It was approved. And then I got a summons. And now I'm going to court, but before I go to court, I will get fined every day. I go to court, and then he reminded me that I also am not allowed to have any outdoor tables.
Which other properties in town have outdoor tables?
Any.
Just
I know he has one.
Right, yeah.
Okay, guys, let's take it like one step at a time. Again, for us, it's a new issue, so we're
I
hearing
think
it
the
for the
best
first
we could
time.
do is look into it, if you wanna send those permits that you said you had.
I sent out a mass email to a lot of people today. I can
I'm not sure who you sent it to, and I'm not sure if you mean by everyone else, but if you want to send it to me,
People
send
that
it
have
to me.
been, people that have reached out to me to try and resolve the issue.
Okay.
And everyone says, there's not gonna be any fines, there's not gonna be any summonses. And then the reality is, I just get summoned, I'm gonna get fined, the Reeds are gonna get fined.
But my point is, I pointed out the crack shack, that's what I was talking about 2 weeks ago, and 2 months ago, and last May for Mother's Day, I was talking about the crack shack. Knock it down, and then I contacted the guy myself and I said, can you please knock your property down? It's a real eyesore. And he says, I have no incentive to knock it down. In other words, he doesn't get fined for the way it is. And I highlighted that, and I sent everyone an email highlighting Dave Ricardo's non-compliance with his job. That's his job. So I feel like this is a retaliation. Now he's going to do his job.
I can only respond that it was complaint generated. And Mr. Mercado, whether you agree with him or not, and I'm not here to defend, he responded to a complaint that came to his office about the container. I've spoken to Kim. I think there was a confusion on the container from the police department and code enforcement.
He approved the container.
Okay, Katie, I'm trying to explain to you what's taken place, and I did go down and speak to this young lady.
Well, I've complained about that property and he hasn't done anything about that.
Okay, Katie.
Look, I think the
Mr.
complaints
President,
are noted, the case is in municipal court. I've asked for a copy of the permit, I'll look at it, I mean, there's nothing else we can really say tonight about it.
I will commit, Kim, I've spoken to you several times. Some don't smell right here across the board, whether it's a failure in communication. But I'm committed to investigating it. Katie, I do agree with you because I did speak with your husband, that there's a viable solution here.
I gave a date, it's gonna have to go away.
But how many fines were issued on the properties that I formally submitted? A question, how many fines were issued on them?
Good question.
Within a week, 2 weeks. Why aren't they in compliance by Memorial Day weekend? There is definitely, that is wrong. Wrong.
Good
And
question.
I stayed there until 10 o'clock, so, you know, because I need to tell you that that's just not acceptable. And
It felt personal from the beginning, because I filled out the paperwork, and the fact that a borough official does not know whether they filled out the paperwork and signed it, that the chief of police doesn't know he filled out and signed it, and it takes an officer randomly coming into my store to buy dinner for me to ask Officer Dobbins, hey, remember when I handed you my container permit in January? He's like, yeah, you're all good to go. He calls the chief, oh, that's in my cabinet. The permit's in his cabinet?
Okay, well, let's
Is
give
it
him
in my
my
file? Is it in the file?
And I also know, I did get a message from, the HVP that they were also gonna start to relook at the ordinance with outdoor seating, like sidewalks and stuff, so I think the business organization, I'm only assuming now that you said it, that it probably was generated
Well, you know,
from a
there's
concern.
tables out there
So,
for 40 years.
so I know they were gonna,
I'll bring the blue bathtub back, if y'all want that.
they're gonna go ahead and revisit that ordinance and go from there.
The Eiffel Tower was nice to touch, the blue bathtub.
All right, Jennifer Kell.
I have I guess my questions are all related to threefold. Did the council follow the procedures when I had been coming for maybe the past 17 years or so to ask, you know, the state is coming to do a traffic study about, can we please make it a one-way? I know there was opposition, but the council did follow the rules in announcing to the public that there was going to be hearings, correct?
Yes, we
Yeah,
do.
we have public hearings.
Okay, I thought so. And a lot of things go on in town that I'm not always aware of, and suck it up, rub some dirt and then suffer the consequences. Yes, but everybody has a right to voice their opinion, as I am now. 8 years ago, the state, and several times since then, the state has done, I'm sorry, not several times, twice since then, the state has come to that corner and done traffic studies, where they've said the only reason why they cannot put a barrier, a physical barrier there, is because there will be fatalities. So that's why I asked for the one-way. Because to me, 20 seconds to go down and make a right-hand turn at Miller is worth somebody's life. it's worth not getting rear-ended when I signal to make a right coming down that road at 45 miles an hour. It's worth it to go down that 20 seconds, to not have somebody smash into my telephone pole. You know how horrible it is at, 1:30 in the morning on a school night to have the police come and knock on your door and say, Ms. Burkell, please don't leave the house. So here I am, single mom, not that I'm crying about that because it was a good thing, but single mom with my 15-year-old son at home saying, oh my God, is there going to be a surge back into the house from the telephone pole that was knocked down? Is my house going to burn down? Can I leave if the house burns down, or do I have to stay here? Taking off my bathrobe to hold on somebody's face when their head hits the steering wheel so their nose doesn't bleed all over them, at 2 o'clock in the morning after they hit the pole. I just think that, I'm sorry that, it's a minor inconvenience, and I don't think that, well, I guess I should say, I think it's a minor inconvenience to wait that 20 seconds to go from the corner of Balcony 36 to the corner of Miller and make that right, then go right again, and then wherever you need to go. I've seen too much blood, and I'm tired of it. And I think that everybody's wasted enough time that if we turn back into a two-way street, hey, more kids are getting their license, summer nights, driving down shore. I just don't want somebody to die in my front yard. I don't want that on my conscience. And, if anybody else is okay with that, I'm sorry. But I think it's really worth 20 seconds to save a life to go down to Miller. Thanks. That's it.
Okay. Lou Longo, 15 Locust Street.
I just have some concerns about the construction that's going on down there where the San Diego Bay Marina was. Things that I don't recall on the master plan. One concern is that they dug out the marina, all of that contaminated soil that's in the marina, and just dumped it on the ground. I called the EPA. The EPA agreed with me that it's contaminated soil. It's not supposed to just be dumped on the ground. It's supposed to be carted away, disposed of properly. Nothing's happened after that. I haven't even heard back from them. They're still working on it. But with all that stuff that he dumped in the trailer camp, the old trailer camp, and behind the house, now he has plowed it down to the one side because I've heard, I don't know that the people who are going to be building the condos now, he sold that portion of it off. Bowling's just doing the marina. Didn't want that on their property. So if you look behind my house to the right-hand side, the soil is now compacted up about 6 feet high. It's almost as high as my back fence. And it all slopes right down to Locust Street. Besides being contaminated soil that's not supposed to be there, which I'm sure all of you know about that. The river's been contaminated for years, and sludge taken out is supposed to be disposed of properly. In the master plan, I don't remember seeing anything. Anybody can show it to me that they were going to raise the property 6 to 8 feet in the back before they build another 3-story. I know it's all going up, and I'm not fighting that anymore. But they didn't say anything about putting 6 foot of sludge and then putting clean fill on it or whatever they're putting on top of it the last couple of days. They didn't say anything about that. So there's a lot of things that are changing back there that weren't on the master plan, to my knowledge. There's a lot of underhanded stuff that's going on down there, and I'm just wondering, and if you aren't aware of this, I want to make you aware of this. I talked to the associate myself. I'm also personal friends with somebody in high office whose husband tried to get a little channel dug out beyond his house, and he was told, and he's a Superior Court judge, that the stuff could not just be disposed of anyway. It had to be properly carted off and disposed of because it's all contaminated. And EPA backed that up when I called in and asked the same question. So all of this is put back there behind our houses. Even if that can't be fought, I don't agree with them bringing it up almost absolute lunacy. And I know that half the people on the block, and I signed the petition, with them rolling back there and doing all that, I mean, our houses are shaking, like if you're sitting in a chair and I'm shaking the chair. Mine's not up yet, hopefully it's going up by August, it's almost a little over 2 years. But I am concerned with the rest of them that once this goes up with all that construction going on back there, the question of that is, my neighbor told me that he asked for who is responsible for the damage on the houses. Mr. Bowman, I was told by him, my neighbor, Mr. Bowman did not give up his insurance information for us to determine who is responsible for any damage that's done to our properties. And when he went to the town, I don't know what particular person he spoke with. I don't really speak with him too much, he's kind of nuts. But he said that nobody would give up the insurance. That's a concern of mine. I wasn't in on all of that, but just thinking about it, it's something to know about. If cracking happens, my house gets raised, and they're still doing a lot of pile driving and stuff back there, and there's cracks in the foundation. Who is responsible? Does my insurance company then say, well, it's not us, it's the guys back there? And if we don't have copies of their insurance, just like the people who are lifting my house and doing my work, I'm having copies of every single paper and insurance policy that they have in my hands. Because I want to know who's responsible for how much and, you know, exactly what damage is going on. So there's concern about the polluted soil back there, the height that he's raised it to, which is not in the master plan, as I recall it. And as most of you know, I was to a lot of those meetings. And the other is about the insurance. Are we going to get any information on that?
Okay, well, I'll let Bruce handle the insurance aspect, because we did discuss that last meeting and sent back formal correspondence to one of your neighbors, right? I believe you sent it back. I wasn't copied on it, but I know you were working on it.
The insurance, the first part of that is we're looking to see what we have here. I'm part of the construction office, they don't have it, I might have to stop at the engineering office to see if they have anything. But for the most part, that is really a dispute between you and them, and we would try to remove ourselves from it. Obviously, we try to facilitate neighborhood relations, but to the extent of private dispute, we really wouldn't get involved in that. But if we do have insurance information, that would be something that's a public record if we have it in our possession.
Okay, well, he said that he tried to get it from you guys and couldn't. I was in construction for 15 years. When I went into the job, I had to present my insurance papers. I'm sure that Mr. Baldwin, when he came into the town, had to present his insurance papers to you guys. So you should have it on file. Why is it hard to find? Why can't we have copies? You know, that's basic. That's very basic. So you're saying you should have it. Yes, you should have it. You're giving this guy the okay to do all this construction. So if something happens, you should know what his insurance policy is covering, and we should be aware of that. And it shouldn't be a dispute between him and the neighborhood. Yes, you should be involved. Because you, the whole town, you know, everybody who let it go through, you know, is allowing this man to do the construction. You should be on top of him on how he's doing the construction and how he's caring for the people that he is around and any damage that you need to that. Yes, it is your responsibility as the town, as the councilman, to let us know, the homeowners, what damage he's going to do and who's going to be responsible for it. Boats came through my backyard in the storm. I tried to fight that. They told me, oh, go down the road, you're going to have to sue the people individually who own the boat, not the marina, because they put it back. I don't want to have to go through that again, because I didn't get anything out of that. But if
he does damage, then he's the one that's responsible. To answer your two questions.
Okay, but we need, just like I said, I provided those papers with plenty of work for it. We need that paper provided. How can we get it? He's saying no, and you're not sure if you have it, or you should have it.
And then what I will do is I'll let Dale in, you know, I don't know if you want to go down and look at what's going on down there.
We've been working with Bruce's office on several issues
Okay.
on that site. So we'll continue to try to rectify the situation down there.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Sorry. Nancy Burton, I'm sorry I was here late. I had a few obligations, but I just have 3 quick statements. I'm here, first off, on behalf of the Highlands Business Partnership. I just wanted to bring to the council's attention that it is our intention to
some recommendations to change our ordinances. One being the grease trap ordinance that was circulated, which caused a lot of alarm to many fellow business owners. We need to rediscuss and make recommendations for our outdoor cafe seating. We have many vacant properties along Bay Avenue. A lot of people are looking at our town, and we should try to make things, the process of moving in or opening a business or continuing to have a business that may be getting busier, a little smoother. And third would be the sidewalk. I'm not sure what this ordinance would be titled, but when I slow down a little bit, I'll be able to do some more research. But sidewalk coverage or sidewalk display. So it is the Highlands Business Partnership's intent to get to you as soon as possible recommendations to make some changes or upgrades to the grease trap ordinance, the outdoor cafe tables, and the sidewalk coverage. We plan to get a small group together for each of these ordinances to make recommendations, and Dale has made himself aware to us that he would help us along this process. So that is our intent.
Okay.
As Nancy Burton, 22 Atlantic Street, and owner of In the Garden, I do just want to say that I am very blessed to be here in this town all the time, hardly leave, talk to residents, business owners, and I'm very happy to hear that Dave Mercado or code enforcement is changing. It seems like they're looking at properties and commercial properties a little closer, but I do feel that with the grease trap example, the cafe table example, I do feel a little discouraged about the code enforcement sort of, I don't want to say attacking, but I don't know what other word to use, more of the business owners. We need our businesses. We have a great little town, we have a ton of people around, and I get really upset to hear that some of them feel, and some business owners have stated to me, if they, meaning you, the borough council, don't want me here, we'll leave. And, that, I don't want to see that happen to any of our businesses who've been here for a long time, or who are thinking of coming, or who are new to our area. So, and then on behalf of Nancy Burton, 22 Atlantic Street, and all the other people who may want to raise chickens to have fresh eggs someday, I'm sorry that I could not be here earlier to speak on behalf of that ordinance. And the reason a few months ago, I think it was just coincidental that we were trying to go through our ordinances that need to be upgraded or make recommendations to, that a few residents were trying to get together to possibly come to the council to propose that there can be some sort of approval for homeowners to house chickens for fresh eggs. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I was blessed with a very busy season so far and have not been able to pay the time to those residents or to make some recommendations. So I feel that in the near future, you're going to get some residents here soon who are going to be making some requests to possibly house chickens for fresh eggs. So again, I didn't want you to think I forgot about it, but I wasn't able
We'll
to
just
pull
add
that
this to
off.
your list of ordinances.
Yeah. I might as well run for
Grease
council.
traps,
Yeah.
tables, and seat coverage and chickens.
Thank
That's all
you.
it is. Okay. Motion to adjourn? All right, one more. All right, guys, one more. Hold on. We let Nancy go, so.
I wanted to find out who is the council person instead of property maintenance. That was one question, so I can address that person.
Councilman Redmond.
Kevin, what I wanted to find out was where do you stand with property maintenance at this point as far as going forward to address the substandard houses?
Well, you missed the meeting that we had here tonight. We had Fran from T&M, and we passed a resolution. Okay, we're moving forward with demolishing houses that are out there. Okay, there's a procedure that has to be done. They're going to open it up to everybody in Highlands that has to own their own home. Okay, and there's a 15 or 20 point checklist they have to work with, and then they get it, go to FEMA, and they'll get back to you. But it's in,
We talked about this like 3 years ago with the 50 houses that were going to come down.
it's happening.
Okay. There'll be that project there. What about the other houses that won't get knocked down, that are substandard, that people have to look at? How do you plan on actively working with those?
Dave Marcon is out there, and he's finding people through it, right now.
Okay.
That was one of the major things that we had when we talked to him about, plus with the appointment of the new judge, he is taking care of anybody that's not there, he's finding it.
Okay.
He's 100% behind it.
Because I want to make a point or get on the record that, because I've asked for this for many years, to be active about this, I haven't seen any changes, that I will pursue this honestly, earnestly, in the future, to follow up on this. Because I think people, they pay a lot of money to live here, and it needs to be addressed, not just this. So since you're the head of that, I will ask you, if I'm not personally satisfied, please feel that I will come to ask you to help me with this.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This isn't just downtown, right? It's also,
I mean, now the TPDR program, the
FEMA one is
FEMA
down.
program will not address homes out of the flood zone.
right,
But
okay, because there's a property next door to me that's been for years.
that's almost the situation that Arnie's talking about. Doesn't matter where that is, but that wouldn't be eligible for the TPDR program.
Yeah, I don't want them to do the same thing.
Right, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, it occurs to me, thinking about the presentation about the PPR, it occurs to me that the worst offending returns would be the ones who don't come forward and don't qualify, because they're not primary. I mean,